Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about another very important aspect of the scientific research, that is research design. So, in particularly we will discuss about the different principles of the research design. So, if you remember when I talked about these steps in the research process, academic research process more particularly. So, in the fourth step we decide about that what should be our research design. Now, this research design term, it is a very broad term and it includes everything you know about research. So, if you look into the definition, so research design is the plan, structure, strategy of investigation conceived to obtain answer to research question and to control variance. So, that means three component is there. It research design, it involve plan, it involve structure, it involve strategy. So, what plan is? Plan is the overall scheme of the or overall program of the research. So, it outline what the researcher will do from writing hypothesis to the operational implication to the analysis and writing report. Okay. So, that means from the first part to the last, everything included into the plan. Second component is the structure. So, structure is more specific than plan. It is outline, paradigm or the scheme of the operation of the variables. So, how the variables will be operationalized to measure the effect on the dependent variable. Okay. What will be the relation that will be studied, how the relation will actually happen in the field, okay, their juxtaposition of the variables, okay, or the comparison among the variables for measuring them. Okay, so, that basically comes under the structural part. And strategy, that is the third component. So, strategy again it is much more specific than the plan. Strategy means the methods that to be used to gather and analyze data. So, you are talking about the relation between the variables. Okay. So, maybe you are trying to find out the attitude of the students towards the taking up government job after the attitude of the agricultural student. Okay. So, how you are going to study that particular thing? So, you have to deploy survey method. Okay. So, those things basically comes under the strategy part. Now, coming to the purpose of the research designing. So, obviously and most obvious purpose is that the research design is formed to provide answer to the research question, but though it seems the most obvious aspect, okay. So, but it is not the most important aim of the research or purpose of the research design. So, the first purpose was to provide answer to the research question. And how this answer will be provided? Okay. So, research design basically enable the researcher answer the research question as validly, objectively, accurately and economically as possible. The second objective or second purpose I told, that is the control of the variance. In actuality, the control of the variance is the sole purpose of the research design. Okay. When you can control the variances, okay, so you can accurately, objectively provide answer to the research question. Now, coming to the control of the variances, in a research situation, there are broadly three type of the source of the variance or type of variance. We called it systematic variance, error variance and extraneous variance. Systematic variance means, or it is also known as the experimental variance. Experimental variance is, that is the variances that is originating due to the manipulation of the independent variable. Means maybe you are trying to find out the effect of the different teaching method on the divergent problem solving skill of the student. Okay. So, there may be the two type of the teaching method, one is the opportunistic method, another is the systematic method. Okay. So, now this, so the participant will be provided these two different method with the participant will be exposed to this particular different method, and the dependent variable, change in the dependent variable. What is the dependent variable here? That is the divergent problem solving skill. Okay. You will measure the change in that particular problem solving skill. Okay. So, that change what is happening in your dependent variable due to your independent variable or manipulation of the independent variable, that is the experimental variance or systematic variance. Second variance is that extraneous variance. Extraneous variance means, I think you remember what extraneous variable was. It is an type of independent variable that can affect the relation between the dependent and independent variable, but it is not hypothesized to be the part of the research, or it is possibility is there researcher do not know that this particular independent variable also affecting the dependent variable. Okay. So, that is the extraneous variable, and variance contributed by this extraneous variable we call them the extraneous variance. Another part is that error variance. So, error variance, okay, it may come from it may be because of the faulty measurement, it may be because of the non-representative sample when you are using sampling as a part of the study. Okay. It may be the respondent bias, there may be a number of diverse sources. In some future lecture, in subsequently we will also talk about this particular sources, okay, or particular type of errors, that broadly it may be sampling and non-sampling errors categorized into. Okay. So, all the error that is coming from the sampling because of the sampling, that is the sampling error. Apart from sampling, whatever error, source of error may be there, like because of the faulty measurement tool, because of the interviewer bias, all these things basically come under the non-sampling error. So, now given these three type of error, research design has one sole purpose, that is the control of the extraneous or control of the variances. Variances means these three type of variances. Now, this control term, that is again a broader term. Control means many things. It may be elimination, it may be holding constant, it may be minimizing. Okay. So, those all are the part of the control. Now, in this control of the variances, so we have one very important formula. Okay. So, that is popularly known as the max min con principle, or one popular principle that is very popularly known as principle, max min con principle of controlling variances. When I talk about variance, that means there are three broader type of variance. One is systematic, your error variance, and extraneous variance. Okay. So, now this three part of the max min con principle, if we expand this, the maximization of the variance of variables of substantive research hypothesis, that should be the first aim of the research. That means, the maximizing the experimental variance. Okay. So, that your purpose of the research is that you have to manipulate there may be certain change in the independent variable or certain level of the independent variable, and you want to measure the change that is happening on the dependent variable due to the change in the independent variable. Okay. So, that particular we call this the effect. Okay. So, now this effect size will be more only when the conditions which you are assigning or the independent variable, okay, or the treatment which you are using, they have the chance to clearly show their effect. Okay. So, this particular first principle is telling you that our researcher aim should be the first aim that maximize the variables of the substantive research hypothesis. Hypothesis means it is the statement of relation between variables. Okay. Second part is the control of the extraneous variables. So, extraneous variables is always a problem for any particular research. Now, in case of the social science research, as mostly is carried out in the field level or open environment, these extraneous variables have much more chance to show their effect. Okay. Okay. So, there may be in a experimental condition or in a social study, okay. So, there may be a numerous number of socioeconomic variables or personal variables that may affect a certain attributes. Okay. So, it is not possible for the researcher to know about all these extraneous variances, but whatever possible, so they have to plan for controlling those or extraneous variables or variance contributed by these extraneous variables. And third is the minimization of the error or random variances or error of measurement. So, now how to do that? Okay. The first one is that maximization of the experimental variance. So, as I already told, what is experimental variance or variances of the dependent variable measure that is influenced by the independent variable or the influenced by the variables which is the part of your hypothesis. Okay. So, now in this particular case, this variance is the source of this experimental variance that may be from the active or attribute variable. You remember what was active variable, what was attribute variable? Active variable means which the researcher manipulate at the time of the research. Okay. Attribute variable means that cannot be manipulated by the researcher. Okay. So, at the time of the research, okay, respondent they already have those particular that certain level in that particular variable. Like example, if you take the example, it is the socioeconomic status or it is the gender, those are attribute variable. People are different on those particular variable, but you cannot, the researcher cannot actively manipulate it or change it, like you cannot change the socioeconomic status. Okay. So, you are designing a study, if I take the previous example, okay, divergent thinking skill, divergent problem solving skill on the teaching methods, okay, or the student achievement based on the teaching method. Okay. So, that may be affected by the intelligence, socioeconomic status of the student. Socioeconomic status guaranteed that he get a better support in terms of coaching and all those things. Okay. Or people are intelligence as mostly it is taken as a God gifted quality. Okay. So, people have different level of intelligence based on their whatever based on their birth and all those. Okay. So, you cannot change those, but people differ on these particular variables. Okay. So, that those variables are attribute variables. Now, this experimental variance may come from both your active variable as well as attribute variable in case of the social science research. Okay. So, what you can do to maximize this experimental variance? Okay. You have to make or pull the methods apart as much as possible. Like I was giving the example of the effect of teaching methods on the divergent problem solving skill. Now, teaching methods it may be opportunistic teaching method, it may be systematic. Opportunistic means, okay, so depending on the situation you introduce certain particular learning. Okay. Systematic means everything, okay, every move of the teacher, okay, that pre-designed. Okay. So, these two methods should be clear cutly different from each other. Okay. Maximum difference should be there. Okay. You have to design, plan and conduct the research so that the experimental conditions are as much different as possible. Then only it will get a chance to show its effect on the dependent variable. But when I am telling that this maximization of the experimental variance, okay, this term sometimes, okay, it's widely misunderstood. You have to be very cautious about it. Okay. So, for your understanding, here I included certain example. Okay, it will be very easy to understand. Okay. Like a particular researcher, or if you take that a particular engineer, what he wants? He want to compare the engine performance of two particular bike. Maybe you want to compare the engine performance of the Royal Enfield Classic 350. Okay. So, now you have to, the comparison should be, okay, or the two independent variable, that means one you are using the Royal Enfield Classic, okay, and another here for the comparison purpose or for maximization the experimental variance. Okay. The second, the comparison group you are using may be the Hero CD100. You tell that whether it is possible. Okay. So, based on it is always the Royal Enfield performance will be much better than this CD1, okay, because it is an higher engine capacity bike. Now, in the opposite side, you take that you want to compare the engine performance of the Royal Enfield 350, okay, and you compare it against the performance of the Honda CB 350, which is also the similar engine capacity bike. Okay. So, now this performance is this comparison is much more fruitful. Okay. So, very often in the educational research, okay, this comparison often in the educational research is basically comparison between the Royal Enfield 350 and CD100. Okay. So, that means the treatment at the control group, okay, so which you are using in your research, they are not comparable at all. Okay. Here I put another example, like a researcher he spent 100, okay, he want to design an web based course and he spent 100 of hours for the designing that particular treatment, okay, and he want to know the achievement or effect of this particular treatment or this particular teaching method. One may be the use of the web based design, another is the simple teaching methods or face to face teaching methods, okay, or providing the written note, okay, on the how they affect the student achievement or student learning or knowledge building. Okay. So, he spent 100 hours for developing this web based course, okay. Then he just take the printout of it and provide it as a to the control group, okay, as a the different treatment, okay, or as a process of the simple teaching method, the effect. Okay. So, now another researcher, okay, so he spent the similar time or similar effort to design a good web based course material, and also he designed an very good multimedia version, okay, for those course material for that particular control group, and then he tried to find out that how much effectiveness this particular web based course material have. Now, this comparison looks like it is much more fruitful. Okay. So, in this particular situation, okay, one term generally or one ethical issue generally happened, okay, we call them the equipoise. So, equipoise it's an state of the researcher, okay, or it is an state of genuine uncertainty on the part of the researcher, okay, regarding the treatment effectiveness on the each side of the trial, whether to take the very inferior control group and show your result that it is having good effect on your dependent variable, or whether to take the much powerful control group, okay, to find out that what the true effect your treatment or your targeted treatment have on this dependent variable. Okay. So, educational researcher must never conduct a study in which the control or comparison group is absolutely inferior to the treatment or experimental group. That they must keep into the mind. Okay. So, people mostly they misunderstood that the maximization, the between group difference is deliberately make the control group inferior or irrelevant. Okay. Actually, the meaning of the maximization of the experimental variance is to make the best out of the both group. Okay. Again, I will repeat that people often misunderstood that maximization of the between group difference, okay, by deliberately taking control group inferior or irrelevant, okay, does not serve the purpose of the research. Actually, the meaning of the maximization of the experimental variance is to make the best out of the both groups. Now, next one is the control of the extraneous variable or the variance of the extraneous variable. For a recap, okay, so there are four type of the extraneous variable. Okay. So, one is the first one is the situational variable, means the different situational factor like temperature, experimental, the room condition, the lighting condition, okay, that may affect the response pattern of the respondent. Okay. So, like if you are studying the effect of an multimedia teaching methods and there are frequent electricity cut, okay, that performance of the respondent. Okay. So, those are basically the situational source of the extraneous variances. Okay. It may be the participant or the person type also. Okay. So, that means there are individual differences between your respondent. All the respondents are generally different in terms of their age, they are different in terms of their predisposition, they are different in terms of their heritage, religion, all these things. Okay. Like if you are studying the performance, okay, and the respondent are from the different age group. Now, here the age is a factor that can actually affect the performance. Okay. So, these are the type of this participant or person type of extraneous variable. Okay. Next type of the extraneous variable is the experimental variable. Okay. What experimental variable means? That the character or the behavior of the experimenter or the surveyor, that may also affect the experimental result. Okay. So, there is a chance situation, there may be certain situation, okay, that the researcher or experimenter they unintentionally influence the how participants should behave. Okay. So, the tone of the voice of the experimenter, okay, his expectation, his experience. Okay. So, these all things, okay, may affect the result. Okay. So, these are again the experiment, these extraneous variables comes from the experimenter side. Okay. And one last type is the demand characteristics type. Okay. So, if you leave this experimenter participant type all and the situational type also, okay. So, there may be certain cue present in the experimental environment, okay, or the participant can take those cue and behave in a certain way. I gave the example, okay, if the participant came to know in the certain way that or participant perceive that maybe this study is being carried out on the honesty. Okay. So, he will start to behave in the more honest way than he usually do every day. Okay. So, that is one the demand characteristics type, they experiment this extraneous variable. Now, for controlling the situation, when the situational factors is an extraneous variable, then the controlling process is to the standardization of the research environment. When it come to the when the source is the participant, so the process of controlling is that that is the random assignment, a randomization, that is the only way to, or the best way to control those particular this type of extraneous variable. Now, when the source is the experimenter, then we generally follow a strategy which is known as the double blind strategy. So, now both the this respondent and the surveyor, they do not know the purpose of the study, and last one is the demand characteristics one. So, that can be controlled by the deception. So, now whenever the deception about the purpose of the study. Now, again there is an ethical standard are there, that how much of it you can be used. So, now these are the 4 broader type of the extraneous variable and the broader way to control them. Now, let us take a look into the more statistically accurate method of controlling those extraneous variables. So, there are broadly the 4 or 5 way of controlling the extraneous variables if it is a problem in your research. The first one is that the elimination of the variable as a variable. So, like if you are studying the achievement of the students and you think that or you are studying the driving skill of the students and you think that the gender may be an extraneous, or gender may actually the people or the respondent may differs in that particular skill based on the gender, or maybe you are studying the achievement and you think the socioeconomic status may be an extraneous or maybe an influential or variable that can affect the achievement of the students apart from the teaching methods. So, in that cases, how you can eliminate the variable? You simply select the subject, from the one particular group. Like if the gender is an extraneous variable, then you select the subject either only boys or all the girls, only girls. If it is the intelligence level is the extraneous variable, you only select the people who are the average intelligence level, or only respondent will be only from the low intelligence level or from the higher intelligence level, not from the all of 3, only single group. So, in this way you can control the extraneous variable by eliminating it as a variable, but this poses another problem, the problem of the loss of the data. So, you actually unable to take that part of the that independent, or maybe it is a very important independent variable you are missing. The next way is the randomization. So, randomization means it is the random assignment of the subject to the different condition, random assignment of the treatment to the different group. So, actually most of the research, or in case of the experimental research, there used to be 2 group. One may be your experimental group where you put certain treatment, and another may be your control group, that is for the observation purpose, or different treatment is generally applied there. So, now if you are randomly selecting the subject, and there may be a number of extraneous variable is there. So, if you are randomly selecting the subject, that means so their distribution, girls and boys students are there in the experimental group, so similar proportion they will be there in the control group also. If people are different based on their socioeconomic status, so there may be student from the higher socioeconomic status, lower or middle socioeconomic status, they may be in the experimental group also and the control group also. And when you use the random assignment, so there is a chance that these 2 group will be the statistically similar. So, if the age is a factor, that will be play its effect, show its effect on the experimental group also and control group also. Now, when you compare both of them, their effect is cancelled out. So, statistically the random assignment is the best method or only possible way to control of the actual control of the extraneous variable. Third strategy or third way of controlling the extraneous variable is that you build that particular extraneous variable within the research design, or as a part of the research design as a attribute variable. So, like if you are taking, as I was giving the example of the age, so I was also giving the example of maybe the gender that may affect the achievement, or maybe it is the intelligence level that may be affect the achievement. So, you take this intelligence level as a part of your research, or you include the intelligence level as an independent variable in your research, but not as an active variable, it should be included as an attribute variable. Okay. Now, after including it as an attribute variable, if you randomly assign subject to this particular these three particular group of this extraneous variable, like if it is an intelligence, there is low intelligence people, there may be middle intelligence people, there may be the very high intelligence people, okay, or intelligence student. Okay. And if you assign them to the experimental group and control group randomly, then okay. So, you one way you control the this extraneous variable, you make it a part of the research, and in this way you generate additional data about that particular new independent variable. Okay. So, once the building a particular variable within the research design as attribute variable is a use of the match subject. Okay. Matching is the, it is a special case of the this particular the previous method I discussed about. Okay. So, in case of matching, what you do? You divide the whole population, okay, into in n by 2. Okay. Means if there is an 20, if there is 20 is your sample size, okay. So, it will be divided into n by 2 group, okay. There will be 10 group. Okay. So, now how it is done? Okay. Like here I put an example for your understanding. Okay. Maybe one researcher was in this particular research. Okay. So, researcher was studying the effect of the certain neurochemicals on their this response pattern of this monkeys. Okay. So, now the respondent or the researcher thought that, okay, this blood chemistry of the or blood composition or the blood group may be, okay, just so that may play a certain effect in this particular study. Okay. So, now they, and based on the blood chemistry, okay, they divided or they group those particular subject into this way. Okay. So, you take another example, like you take the intelligence is the extraneous variable here. Okay. So, now you ranked all the student based on their intelligence, maybe by using a knowledge test. Okay. So, maybe certain people they will be the first ranker, after there will be second ranker, third ranker, fourth ranker. So, now matching means, okay, so we will make a group taking two of them, means here in the ranking of the student first and second ranker, there is a more chance for the they will be almost equal into all the character, or maybe they are almost equal in that particular extraneous variable, that is the your intelligence level. Okay. Now, third and fourth, okay, they may be much similar. Okay. Like if you compare it with the first and fourth, okay, then the first and second is the much more similar in the intelligence level. Okay. So, now after making the group, you randomly assign them into the control group and the experimental group. Maybe the first ranker will go to the experimental group, second ranker will go to the control group. Now, third ranker they may go to the control group, fourth ranker go to the experimental group. Okay. So, in this way both the experimental group or control group, okay, there is a possibility that this group will be similar in this particular extraneous variable. Now, this use of the matching for use of the match subject as an extraneous variable control, the extraneous variable of your study and the dependent variable, okay, must have very high correlation. High correlation means it is often more than 0.6 or 0.7. Okay, then only matching as a way of the extraneous variable control is beneficial. And last one is the use of the statistical method, means there are a number of methods like analysis of covariance. Okay, so that actually find out how much extraneous variables or variance is there. Okay, so use of this analysis of covariance and all those things, okay, that may be useful. But as I already told, this randomization as a strategy for control of the extraneous variable, it is the best possible strategies, okay, among the all this particular strategy of controlling the extraneous variable. Now, the extraneous variable, okay, it may cause a particular type of problem at the time of the data interpretation. Okay. So, I mentioned it here. Okay. So, it is popularly known as an Simpson paradox. Okay. Extraneous variable is one of the reason of this Simpson paradox. Okay. What is Simpson paradox? Okay. Simpson paradox is an effect that occurs when the marginal association between the two categorical variables is qualitatively different from the partial association between the same two variables after controlling for one or more other variable, means. Okay. So, I think this particular definition is not that much clear cut. Okay. So, for make it easy for you people. Okay. So, it is simply means that when you analyze the data, okay, into different subgroups, okay, their result may be 1. Now, when you take the whole data together, the result may totally different or it may reverse also. Okay. It is a situation where you believe that you understand the direction of relationship between the variable, okay, but once you consider the one additional variable, the direction appears to reverse or change. Okay. So, this is we call the Simpson paradox. Okay. I will come to the example and then it will be much more clear. Okay. So, along with the Simpson paradox, there are certain other paradoxes are there, like they are commonly known as an association paradox. Okay. So, there are also amalgamation or aggregation paradox is there, reversal. Okay. Those are all basically part of the Simpson paradox, is also a part of the association paradox. Okay. So, association paradox, okay, it can happen in case of the any type of variable, continuous or the categorical variable. Okay. So, it may be two different type, okay, like it may be a reversal paradox or it may be amalgamation or aggregation paradox. What is reversal paradox? Okay. That means you calculate the correlation between the two variable. Okay. Now, when you calculate the partial correlation, okay, means between the a number of independent variable by controlling one independent variable at a time, okay, the correlation means the sign of the correlation will totally opposite sign or reverse sign you will get, okay. Or maybe this both the marginal correlation means this Pearson product moment 1-to-1 correlation, that is an marginal correlation. Okay. So, this marginal partial correlation they will give the same sign, the number will not change, but the magnitude of the marginal association falls outside the range of value of the partial association. Okay. So, like when you calculate the partial correlation between the a number of variables with the independent variables with the maybe the attitude. Okay. So, maybe the correlation came like 0.7. Okay. This is a very high correlation coefficient. Okay. So, now when you calculate the independent or the each variable independently, okay, like Pearson product moment correlation, it generally comes down. Okay. So, again it is an also type of the association paradox, or actually in particularly it is known as the amalgamation or aggregation paradox. Okay. It will be more clear if you look into the example. Okay. It is one of the famous example of the this particular Simpson paradox. Okay. So, here, okay, one study was carried out to look into the gender bias in the college admission in USA. Okay. It is famous as an UC Berkeley admission data study, admission study, okay, in which was based on the admission data of this particular US college in 1973. Okay. So, now if you calculate, if you look into the whole data set, okay, like the total student who took admission in that particular year. Okay. So, if you look that on an, if you take all the department together, the whole college together, okay, so there were 44% of the men take application, means among the all the male applicant 44%, okay, they get admission, and among the female applicant only 33% or 35% get admission. Okay. So, looks like that the college, in case of the admission, there is a gender bias in favor of the men. Now, when you analyze the data based on the different department of that college, okay, it given different, totally different trend in the sum of the department. Okay. Like here I presented the data of the 6 department, and if you look again the admission data now, after segregating it based on the different department, you will find out in 4th department, okay, there was much more, the admission was for the favor of the female. Okay. So, the gender bias which was there in favor of the men, that totally vanished here, okay, for the 4th department, and only here in the 2 department, okay, that was the this admission was in favor of the bias was in favor of the male, or gender bias was in the side of the male. Okay. So, this is an typical case of the example of the Simpson paradox. Or if you take the another example, okay, like a study is being carried out on the which flavor of the lassi is the most favorite for you. Okay. So, you know this this mango, strawberry, there are number of flavor are there. Okay. So, first you study you carry out a sample survey, and you find out that 800 of the respondent they prefer out of 1000, okay, they prefer the mango flavor. Okay, only 750 they prefer the strawberry flavor. So, it looks like 80% they prefer mango flavor, or 75% it is the strawberry flavor. So, mango is the winner here. Now, you introduce another variable, okay, here, that is the gender, and you segregate the data gender wise. So, now in this case you will find out 760 out of the 900 if you segregate the data based on the gender. Okay. So, 760 male out of the 900 they favor the mango flavor. Okay. So, if you convert it into the percentage it will give you like 84%. Okay. So, now and in case of strawberry the 700 out of the 700 600 like the strawberry flavor. Okay. So, it is the 85%. Okay. In the whole data the mango was the winner. So, in case of the when you segregate the data based on the gender then strawberry is the most preferred lassi flavor. Okay. So, in case of the female it is again 40%, okay, who like the mango flavor, and it is the 50% of the female who like the strawberry flavor. So, here also the strawberry is the winner or the most popular one, but in the total data it is the mango was the most preferred the flavor of the lassi. So, this is an typical case of the again it is an example of the Simpson paradox. So, now why this Simpson paradox happened? So, there are a number of causes of this Simpson paradox, okay, and there are three important or three causes of this Simpson paradox. Okay. So, first one is that heterogeneous subgroup. Okay. So, Simpson paradox often occurs when the subgroups within the data set have significantly different characteristics or sample size. Okay. So, this is the one of the reason, okay, that different groups have the different sample size. Second one is the hidden variable. Okay. So, sometimes there are unobserved or unaccounted for variable, that is extraneous variable, okay, that influence both the grouping and the outcome. Okay. And this resulted in the paradoxical reversal of the trends. Okay. So, that is this extraneous variable or hidden variable, that is the another reason of this Simpson paradox, and weighted average. Okay. So, aggregating data with unequal sample size can give the disproportionate weight to certain subgroups, okay, and affecting the overall trend. So, these are broadly the three causes of this particular Simpson paradox, okay, where the extraneous variable is the one of the most important cause apart from the different sample size and others. So, how you can mitigate this particular Simpson paradox? Okay. So, there are a number of ways. So, one of the way is the data disaggregation. Okay. So, especially for the students, okay, social science student, you may face this particular problem, okay, in most of the study. Okay. So, because when you are carrying out a comparative study, maybe you are studying the sustainability of the farming system between the organic and non-organic farmer, and again this farmer may be from the different geographical area, some may be in the hill region or some may be from the plain region. Okay. So, there are a number of groups are there. Okay. So, there is always possibility this Simpson paradox may happen. So, in that cases you have to analyze and report the data in the subgroup level and aggregate level, okay, differently. Secondly, you have to be very careful about this possibilities of operation of the extraneous variable or confounding variable, okay, that actually affect this, or that is another cause of this Simpson paradox. Okay. So, transparent reporting. So, when presenting data you have to clearly communicate the presence of the Simpson paradox. Okay. So, because if it is there then it can clearly, if you do not mention that, okay, so without knowing it may affect the decision making. Okay. And lastly, if you think that Simpson paradox is there, okay, so you can seek input from the statistical expert or data analysis. Okay. So, if you think that the validity of your research is affected by the or interpretation of your research is being affected by this particular Simpson paradox. Okay. Now, last one of this max min con principle is that is the minimization of the error or random variances. Okay. So, this minimization of the error or random variances, okay, so that can be achieved by two ways. Okay. First one is the blocking, that is reduction of the error of measurement by control condition. Okay. What the measurement error? That is a type of non-sampling error. Okay. So, we will discuss about this particular into certain other lecture on the this sampling and non-sampling error, okay, in future. So, now if all the subjects are selected, treated as a big group, okay, within group variability may be huge. Okay. So, now what you can do by dividing this particular experimental group into certain blocks. Okay. So, blocks are much more homogeneous. Okay. So, you can actually reduce this error or random variances. And second one is this measurement variance measurement error. Second one is that you improve the reliability of the measure. Okay. So, reliability means that that instrument should yield the consistent data. Consistent means, okay, I think all of you, okay, so many of you, okay, have noticed this weight measurement tools in the station, where you put 1 rupees and you will get your weight, you came to know your weight. Okay. So every time you put, and if you try to do it in the 2-3 times, okay, you may clearly notice that it will it was giving you the different weight. Okay. So it was before the this coming of this nowadays available this electronics weight measurement tools. Okay. So that is again the means every time it is measuring, it is giving the different reading. So that is again the problem of the consistency. In the social scientific research, this reliability is a very important aspect or serious aspect what the researcher should be very careful about. Okay. So improve the, if the instrument is reliable enough, okay, so there is an less chance for the error variance to creep in. So these are the 3 part of this max mean con principle, that is maximization of the variances of the experimental variances, control of the extraneous variances, and last one is the minimization of the error variances. Okay. So we will conclude this today's discussion. Okay. So by mentioning the criteria for the good research design. So the 3 important criteria should be fulfilled, design your research. Okay. The first one is that whatever research design you use, okay, the research design should be such that it should answer the research question. Second criteria is that the research design is efficient enough to control the extraneous variables. Okay. Third one is that internal and external validity. Internal validity simply means whether independent variable, you are sure that independent variable is causing the change in the dependent variable, and extraneous validity means that the relation you find in your research, from your research, whether that is applicable for the broader environment. Okay. It is the simple concept of the internal and external validity. So we will discuss further on this internal and external validity in some future lecture when we talk about the validity of the research in particular. Okay. So these 3 things should be fulfilled. Okay. And again, to remind you, this research design, it comprised of, it start from the how you put the problem statement to the what analysis method you will use to the writing of the report. Okay. And this is the most important part of your research. Okay. So for further reading, you can look into these books, or I put certain links, okay, from where you can gain certain more insight into this research designing. Thank you.